G1 laughed softly. Win, we already won. The moment they rejected us, the Council Fall Centralis had been the heart of galactic civilization for 10,000 years. The planet itself was beautiful, covered in towers of crystal and metal that reached into the sky. Billions lived there from dozens of species, all believing they were safe behind the most powerful defenses the galaxy had ever built. They were wrong. The human fleet emerged from slipstream at the system's edge. 50,000 warships materialized in perfect formation, blocking out the stars. On Centralis, alarms screamed across every city. The defenders had known this moment was coming, but seeing it with their own eyes was different. Emperor Jiho stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the planet through the main display. Empress Dehi stood beside him, her tactical mind already analyzing the defenses. They have 3 orbital stations, she said calmly. Each could destroy a fleet on its own. Planetary shields are at maximum. They have at least 2,000 ships in defensive positions. This will not be easy. Nothing worth doing is easy, Jiho replied. Admiral Seojin, you may begin. Admiral Seojin Nam gave the order, and the human fleet moved forward like a wave of death. The Council defenders opened fire immediately. Energy beams and missiles crossed the void, filling space with light and destruction. Human shields held. The technology developed over 500 years of preparation was showing its worth. Attacks that should have vaporized ships were absorbed or deflected. The human fleet continued its advance. Return fire, Seojin ordered calmly. The human response was overwhelming. Thousands of ships fired simultaneously, their weapons targeting the orbital stations with mathematical precision. The first station's shields lasted 12 minutes before collapsing. The station itself exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the dark side of the planet below. On Centralis, people watched in horror as their supposedly invincible defense died in the sky above them. The Council leadership convened in their bunker deep underground, arguing over what to do. We must surrender, the Tellurian representative pleaded. We cannot win this battle. Surrender? The Vrexian hierarch's eyes blazed with fury. We are the Council. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We do not surrender to humans. Then we die, the Tellurian said flatly. Is your pride worth billions of lives? In space, the battle raged. Admiral Taeyang commanded the main assault, while Captain Minjae led boarding parties against Council ships. The Vanguard Marines struck dozens of vessels simultaneously, capturing them intact or destroying them from within. But the Council forces fought with desperate courage. They knew they were defending not just a planet but their entire civilization. Ships rammed human vessels when their weapons failed. Crews fought to the last breath. It was glorious and terrible at the same time. The second orbital station fell after an hour of sustained bombardment. The third station's commander, a warrior from the Kathrani species, refused to retreat. He aimed his station's main weapon at the human flagship. For the Council, he broadcast on all channels. For 10,000 years of peace. Admiral Seojin detected the energy buildup. Evasive action. The flagship turned, but the massive vessel could not move fast enough. The beam struck the ship's port side, tearing through shields and armor. Sections of the ship vaporized. Hundreds of crew members died instantly. Damage report, Seojin shouted. Multiple hull breaches. Power failing on decks 7 through 12. Life support is offline in sections B and C. The tactical officer's voice remained steady despite the chaos. Sir, we need to fall back. No, Seojin said. Target that station. Everything we have. Every weapon on the flagship fired at once. Other human ships joined in, concentrating their fire on the third station. The Kathrani commander died still firing, believing to his last moment that courage could defeat superior force. The station exploded. Debris rained down on Centralis, burning in the atmosphere like falling stars. All orbital defenses are down, Dahi reported to Jiho. The planetary shields remain, but they will not last long. Jiho watched the planet below. Somewhere down there in a bunker or command center, the Council leaders who had rejected humanity 5 centuries ago were watching their civilization collapse. He felt no satisfaction, only cold determination. General Wu Jin, begin ground assault preparations. I want troops on that planet within 6 hours. General Wu Jin Baek assembled his forces in the landing bays. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers prepared to drop onto Centralis. They checked weapons, sealed armor, and said quiet prayers to whatever gods they believed in. Everyone knew this would be the hardest fight of the war. The planetary shields fell after 3 hours of sustained bombardment. Human ships moved into low orbit, their weapons targeting military installations and government buildings. They avoided civilian areas when possible. But in a city that was 10,000 years old, military and civilian had become deeply intertwined. The first drop pods launched, carrying Marines into Centralis's atmosphere. Anti-air defenses tried to shoot them down, but human countermeasures and sheer numbers overwhelmed the defenders. Pods crashed into the crystal towers, and soldiers poured out into the streets. Wu Jin landed with the first wave, his boots hitting alien soil with a heavy thud. Around him, his soldiers formed up quickly, taking cover behind debris and advancing through the city. Alien defenders opened fire from buildings and barricades. Push forward, Wu Jin ordered. Do not stop until we reach the council chambers. The battle for Centralis became a nightmare of urban warfare. Street by street, building by building, the human army advanced. The council defenders used every advantage they had: knowledge of the terrain, prepared positions, and desperate courage. But humanity had advantages too. Better weapons, better armor, and 500 years of practice at killing. Commander Yunhe Shin's psychological warfare reached its peak during the ground assault. Her broadcasts showed live footage of the battle, deliberately edited to make the human advance seem unstoppable. She filled alien communication networks with sounds of war, screaming, explosions, the march of boots on pavement. The Empire has come to Centralis, her voice echoed through the city. You cannot stop us. You cannot hide from us. Surrender now, or be destroyed with the council that failed you. Many did surrender. Entire military units laid down their weapons rather than face the advancing humans. But others fought on, believing somehow they could turn the tide. In orbit, Admiral Seojin continued directing the space battle even as damage control teams tried to save his ship. The flagship was badly hurt but still functional. Around him, human ships hunted down the remaining council vessels. The battle had become a slaughter. Sir, we have a transmission from the council, his communication officer reported. They are requesting a ceasefire to discuss terms. Tell them we will accept only unconditional surrender, Seojin replied. Nothing less than 3 weeks of fighting. That was how long the battle for Centralis lasted. 3 weeks of constant combat, death, and destruction. The beautiful crystal towers fell. Ancient monuments thousands of years old burned. The city that had been the crown jewel of galactic civilization became a war zone. General Wu Jin's forces finally breached the council chambers on day 21. His soldiers, exhausted and bloodied, advanced through corridors lined with priceless art from 100 worlds. They passed rooms filled with the history of 10,000 years of peace. The council members were found in their main assembly hall. 12 beings representing 12 species standing before their ceremonial seats. They had nowhere left to run. Emperor Jiho arrived personally for this moment. He walked into the hall flanked by guards, his boots clicking on marble floors that had seen the footsteps of countless alien leaders throughout history. He climbed the steps to the council's platform and stood before them. 500 years ago, I was told my ancestor stood in a room like this, Jiho said quietly. He asked for friendship, for membership, for a chance to prove humanity's worth. You rejected him. You called us barbarians. You locked us away and told us we were not fit for civilized society. The High Hierarch, old and broken, met Jiho's eyes. We were wrong, he said simply. We should have accepted you then. Perhaps this war could have been avoided. Perhaps, Jiho agreed. But that is not the galaxy we live in. You made your choice 5 centuries ago. We made ours. Now here we stand. He looked at each council member in turn. Some met his gaze with defiance. Others looked away in shame. The Rexian Hierarch, descendant of the one who had led humanity's rejection, stared at Jiho with pure hatred. I will never bend the knee to humans, the Rexian spat. You are barbarians, violent primitive animals who learn to build starships. Destroying us does not change what you are. You are right, Jiho said calmly. We are violent. We are aggressive. We are everything you said we were, but we are also adaptable. We are determined, and we are victorious. Your opinion of us no longer matters, he turned to his guards. Take them into custody. All except the Rexian. He has made his choice. The Rexian Hierarch drew himself up proudly. I will not be captured like some common criminal. Then you will die like a warrior, Jiho replied. He drew his sidearm and shot the Rexian through the heart. The alien fell without a sound, dead before he hit the floor. The other council members flinched. In the B, The Council's emergency session lasted 3 days. Representatives from the remaining loyal species argued, threatened, and pleaded with each other. Some wanted immediate surrender. Others demanded a fight to the last ship. In the end, pride won over wisdom. "We cannot simply give up," the High Hierarch declared. 10,000 years of galactic civilization will not bow to barbarians who discovered space travel yesterday. We will combine our fleets. We will show them the might of united species who have ruled the stars since before their ancestors learned to make fire. The vote was close, but war won. 6 species pledged their full military support. Together they would field over 5,000 capital ships and 20,000 support vessels. It was the largest armada in galactic history. Emperor Jiho received the Council's declaration of war with cold satisfaction. "They chose death," he said to his assembled commanders. "Give them what they want." Admiral Taeyang Ryu led the human response. His tactical genius had been refined through decades of simulation and study. Every battle humanity fought had been planned hundreds of times before the first shot was fired. The second major battle occurred at Helion Station, a massive trade hub that had existed for 3,000 years. The Council believed its defensive platforms and fleet support made it impossible to conquer. They were wrong. Captain Min-jae Park commanded the boarding operations. His Vanguard Marines were trained for ship-to-ship combat in ways the galaxy had never seen. They used powered armor that made them nearly invincible in close quarters, weapons that could cut through alien hulls like paper, and tactics that turned every corridor into a killing field. "Target the command carriers," Min-jae ordered his battalions. "We take them intact. I want their technology, their databases, and their command staff alive for questioning." The Marines launched in armored pods, crossing the void between ships in seconds. Point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but human stealth technology made them nearly impossible to target. They slammed into Council vessels like bullets. Inside the alien ships, chaos erupted. The Marines moved through corridors with brutal efficiency. Alien crew members, used to pressing buttons from safe distances, had no idea how to fight these armored humans who appeared from nowhere and killed everything in their path. Min-jae personally led the assault on the Council command carrier. His armor's display showed enemy positions through walls. His weapons never missed. Within 20 minutes, he stood in the command center, surrounded by captured alien officers. "Your ship is now property of the Earth Empire," he announced. "Resist and die. Surrender and live. Choose quickly." They surrendered. All of them. 12 ships were captured intact that day, their crews taken prisoner and their technology seized for study. The Council had never faced an enemy that could simply take their vessels away from them. But humanity's greatest weapon was not technology or tactics. It was Commander Yunha Shin and her Psychological Warfare Division. Yunha understood something the Council had forgotten. Fear was more powerful than any weapon. Her broadcasts haunted alien communications networks. She showed them videos of humanity's wars, ancient footage of battles fought with primitive weapons, medieval armies clashing with swords, world wars with millions dead. "This is what we did to ourselves," her broadcast said. "Imagine what we will do to you." She had human historians explain humanity's capacity for cruelty in clinical detail. The genocides, the conquests, the systematic destruction of civilizations. Every dark moment in human history was displayed proudly, not as shame but as warning. "You called us barbarians," Yuna's voice echoed across alien worlds. "You were right. We are barbarians. Barbarians with starships and plasma weapons and 500 years of focused rage. Run." Many did. Entire alien fleets refused to fight. Colonies evacuated before human forces even arrived. The psychological assault broke enemy morale before shots were fired. Pilot Kyung-min-oh became a legend during the Battle of Xantha Nebula. Her fighter squadron engaged 300 alien interceptors. Standard tactics said she should retreat, but Kyung-min had never followed standard tactics. "All wings, formation Delta," she ordered. "Target their command ships. Ignore the fighters." Her squadron punched through the enemy formation like a spear. Alien pilots tried to intercept, but human reflexes enhanced by neural implants made them faster. Kyung-min's fighter twisted through space in patterns that should have torn it apart. But human engineering had made vessels that could handle maneuvers. Biological bodies could not survive. She destroyed 18 enemy ships personally that day. Her squadron eliminated the entire alien command structure, the remaining fighters scattered in confusion. and the battle was won before the main fleet even arrived. By the war's third month, the Council had lost over 2,000 ships. Humanity had lost 60. The math was clear. This was not a war. It was an execution. Intelligence Director Hee-Jin-an sat in her office reviewing reports from deep cover agents. Her network had taken decades to build and was now paying dividends. She knew every Council military movement before it happened. She had saboteurs in their shipyards causing critical systems to fail at the worst possible moments. She had assassins removing key leaders who might have organized effective resistance. Operation Fracture is proceeding perfectly, she reported to Emperor Jiho during their weekly briefing. 3 more Council species are considering defection. The Kathrani have contacted us secretly about terms of surrender. The Yolith military command is in chaos after their Grand Admiral's unfortunate accident. Accident? Jiho asked with a slight smile. He fell from a very tall building, Hee-Jin replied. 20 times. Such clumsy species, these Yolith. But not every battle was easy. The Battle of Corrin's world cost humanity its first major losses. The defending aliens had prepared extensive ground fortifications and fought with desperate courage. General Wu Jin-baek led the assault personally, and even with superior technology the fighting was brutal. They are not running, Wu Jin reported from the front lines. These ones have decided to die fighting. Then honor their choice, Jiho replied coldly. Take the world. The battle lasted 3 weeks. Urban combat, tunnel fighting, and desperate last stands in every building. Human casualties mounted into the thousands, but in the end human firepower and determination won. The alien defenders were wiped out to the last soldier. Wu Jin walked through the ruined city after the battle ended. Bodies everywhere. Alien and human alike, smoke rising from destroyed buildings. He had won, but victory felt hollow. Was it worth it? His second-in-command asked quietly. Wu Jin looked at the destruction. Ask me in 100 years. Right now I'm just tired. The Council's strategy was collapsing everywhere. They had expected humanity to fight like they fought, carefully preserving ships and lives following ancient rules of warfare. Instead, humanity fought like they had always fought, total commitment, accepting casualties and breaking every rule that did not serve victory. Admiral Taeyang stood before his senior officers, 6 months into the war. Battle reports covered the walls. Blue markers showed human-controlled space spreading like a cancer across the galaxy. Red markers showed remaining Council territory shrinking daily. They are regrouping at Centralis, he told his commanders. Every remaining loyal fleet is pulling back to defend the Council homeworld. This will be the final battle. How many ships do they have? Someone asked. Our intelligence suggests over 3,000 capital ships plus defensive stations and planetary shields, Taeyang replied. It is everything they have left. And us? Taeyang smiled grimly. We will bring everything too. Across human-controlled space the call went out. Every available warship was recalled. The full might of the Earth Empire would descend on Centralis. Not to conquer, not to occupy, to end this war once and for all. Emperor Jiho prepared to lead the assault personally. His advisors protested, but he silenced them with a raised hand. 500 years ago, my ancestor stood before these aliens and was humiliated, he said. I will stand before them now and watch their civilization fall. This is not just about military victory. This is about making them understand, completely and totally, the mistake they made. Empress Dahi, his wife and closest advisor, stood beside him. Be careful what you wish for, she warned. When you destroy the Council, you must rule what remains. Revenge is simple. Governance is hard. Then we will learn, Jiho replied. Just as we learned to build this fleet, just as we learned to unite our world, we will learn to rule the galaxy. The human armada began gathering near the Centralis system. 50,000 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled by any species. Support vessels numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Every soldier, every pilot, every crew member understood this was the moment 500 years of preparation had been building toward. Back on Earth, billions watched the live broadcasts. Children sat with their parents watching history unfold. Old people who remembered the first days after the Great Rejection wept, knowing they would live to see humanity's triumph. Admiral Jiwan Lee, now over 200 years old, watched from her apartment in Seoul. She had helped build this military machine. She had trained many of the officers now commanding those ships. This was her legacy for better or worse. Do you think we will win? Her nurse asked. The return. The quarantine station detected the energy surge at exactly midnight Galactic Standard Time. Commander Vexith barely had time to reach for the alarm before his screen exploded with warnings. Massive quantum signatures were appearing everywhere. "Get me a visual," he ordered his crew. The Vrexian operator's claws moved across the controls frantically. The main screen flickered to life. Vexith felt his blood turn cold. Ships, dozens of them. No, hundreds. They were emerging from slipstream space in perfect formation, and they were enormous. "Identify those vessels," Vexith demanded. "Scanning now, sir. Configuration is unknown. Energy signatures are off the scale. Wait, I am detecting—" The transmission cut off. Every screen in the station went white. When they cleared, a human face filled the display. He wore a military uniform unlike anything in Council records, black with silver trim and strange symbols. "Attention, quarantine station," the human said calmly. "You have 10 seconds to evacuate. After that, your station will be destroyed." "This is Commander Vexith," he replied, trying to sound authoritative. "You are in violation of Council law. Return to your system immediately or face—" "5 seconds," the human interrupted. Vexith looked at his crew. Young faces, all of them. They had taken this posting because it was supposed to be safe and boring. Watching primitive humans who could not leave their system. "Evacuate," Vexith ordered. "Everyone to the escape pods." Now they barely made it. The crew tumbled into pods and launched desperately into space. Behind them, the station vaporized. Not exploded, not destroyed, simply ceased to exist. Erased by weapons the Vrexians had never seen before. 6 other quarantine stations died the same way within minutes. The barrier that had held humanity prisoner for 500 years was gone. At Council headquarters on the planet Centralis, alarms screamed through the night. The High Hierarch stumbled from his sleep chamber, demanding answers nobody could provide. "What is happening?" he roared at his staff. "The human quarantine has been breached, Your Eminence," his aide reported, her crystal body vibrating with fear. "All 7 enforcement stations are destroyed. We are detecting massive fleet movements coming from the human system." "How many ships?" The aide's light flickered. "At last count, over 10,000. And Your Eminence, these are not primitive vessels. They are massive warships, more advanced than anything in our database." The High Hierarch felt something he had not experienced in centuries: fear. "Contact the humans. Find out what they want." Across the galaxy, every Council species received the same broadcast. It appeared on military channels, civilian networks, and personal communication devices. No one could shut it off or block it. The message was simple and clear. A human appeared on screen. He wore a crown of silver and black, and his eyes held 500 years of anger. "People of the galaxy," Emperor Jiho Song began. "I am Jiho, Emperor of humanity and ruler of the Earth Empire. 500 years ago, your council judged my ancestors. You called us barbaric, primitive, dangerous. You locked us in our system like criminals and told us to think about what we had done." Jiho's expression hardened. "We thought about it. For 500 years, we thought about nothing else. We thought about your arrogance, your cruelty, your certainty that you were better than us. And we prepared." Behind him, images appeared. Human colonies on dozens of worlds. Massive shipyards building vessels that dwarfed Council dreadnoughts. Armies training in perfect coordination. Technology that made Council science look ancient. "You thought you knew humanity," Jiho continued. "You thought you understood what we were capable of. You were wrong. We are not the species you rejected 5 centuries ago. We have evolved. We have unified. We have become something greater than you can imagine." The Emperor stood straighter. "The Earth Empire now controls 47 star systems. We field a military force larger than the 3 largest Council fleets combined. Our technology is generations ahead of yours. We have spent 500 years preparing for this moment." He paused, letting that sink in. "You have 3 choices. First, you can surrender unconditionally and accept humanity's leadership of the galaxy. Second, you can negotiate a new galactic order where humanity holds equal power to the Council. Third, you can fight us and face complete annihilation. You have 1 week to decide. Choose wisely." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, chaos erupted. Fleet Admiral Seojin Nam stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship. Retribution. Around his vessel, the human armada floated in perfect formation. Each ship was a masterpiece of military engineering, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. "Status report," Seojin ordered. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his tactical officer replied. Stealth ships have positioned themselves around all major Council worlds. Intelligence assets are active and reporting. We are ready for any response, Seojin nodded. He had spent his entire life preparing for this moment. Born 50 years before the quarantine ended, he had been trained from childhood to command this fleet. Every battle simulation, every tactical study, every strategic exercise had been designed for this exact scenario. What do you think they will choose? His second-in-command asked quietly. Pride is a powerful thing, Seojin replied. They have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They will not surrender without testing us first. He was right. 3 days later, the Council responded. The Vrexian Grand Fleet, the same species that had called humanity barbarians 5 centuries ago, moved to engage the human forces. Intelligence Director Hyejin An watched the Vrexian deployment from her command center deep inside human-controlled space. Holographic displays showed the alien fleet's every movement. She had agents embedded in their command structure feeding her real-time information. They are bringing everything, she reported to the Emperor. 300 capital ships, 1,000 support vessels, and 50,000 fighters. This is the largest fleet the Vrexians have assembled in centuries. How does it compare to our forces? Jiho asked. Hyejin smiled coldly. Admiral Taeyang has 200 ships in that sector. It will be more than enough. The Battle of Vrexian Prime began at dawn. The Vrexian commander was confident. He had fought dozens of campaigns and never lost. He looked at the human fleet through his tactical display and saw only 200 vessels against his 1,000. They are outnumbered 5-1, he told his bridge crew. This will be quick. It was quick. Just not in the way he expected. The human ships moved with impossible grace. Their targeting systems locked onto multiple Vrexian vessels simultaneously. When they fired, entire squadrons vanished from the display. Return fire, the Vrexian commander screamed. They tried. Missiles and energy beams crossed the void, but the human shields absorbed everything. Advanced defensive fields that flickered and bent space itself turned away attacks that should have been devastating. Within an hour, half the Vrexian fleet was destroyed. Within 3 hours it was over. Not a single human ship had been lost. The Vrexian commander sent one final message before his flagship exploded around him. What are you? Admiral Taeyang Ryu heard the question through the communication channel. We are what you made us, he replied. We are 500 years of anger given form. News of the battle spread instantly. Across the galaxy, species that had been confident in the Council's power suddenly realized the situation had changed. This was not a primitive species throwing a tantrum. This was an empire announcing its arrival with overwhelming force. Emperor Jiho received delegations from 6 Council species within days. They came quietly, secretly, not wanting their fellow Council members to know they were negotiating. The Tellurian Republic was first. Their crystal ambassador stood before Jiho in the throne room and bowed deeply. Your Majesty, she said, the Tellurian Republic wishes to express our desire for peace. We played no part in your exile. We do not wish to fight you. Then bend the knee, Jiho said simply. Accept human authority, and you will be protected. The ambassador hesitated only a moment before kneeling. We accept. 5 other species followed. Within a week, half the Council had fractured. Some sought peace with humanity. Others demanded total war. The galaxy had not seen this level of chaos in recorded history. Back on Earth, crowds gathered to watch broadcasts of the fleet's victories. 500 years of shame was being washed away in fire and blood. Children who had grown up hearing stories of the Great Rejection now watched humanity take its revenge. But not everyone celebrated. In a quiet office in Seoul, the ancient Admiral Jaiwon Lee watched the news with mixed emotions. She had spent her entire life, 200 years, preparing for this moment. Now it was here, and she wondered what came next. We proved them wrong, her aide said, standing beside her. Did we? Jiwon asked. Or did we prove them right? They called us violent barbarians. Now we are conquering the galaxy with the largest military force in history. They forced our hand, the aide protested. Perhaps, Jiwon agreed. Or perhaps we were always going to end up here and they just gave us an excuse. She turned away from the screen. Outside, the celebration continued. Humanity had returned to the galaxy. The question now was whether they had returned as saviors or tyrants. Only time would tell. The quarantine stations appeared within weeks. Massive structures built at the edge of the solar system. armed with weapons that could vaporize any ship that tried to leave. They stood like silent guards, reminding humanity of their shame every single day. At first, people demanded action. Protests filled the streets of every major city. Politicians gave angry speeches. Military leaders proposed desperate plans to break through the barrier. But slowly, the anger transformed into something else. Something colder and more focused. Fleet Admiral Ji-Wan Lee stood in the war room deep beneath Seoul. She was only 30 years old, but already her reputation for strategic thinking had earned her rapid promotion. On the holographic table before her, star charts glowed in blue light. "They think we are violent," she said to her assembled officers. "They think we are primitive. Good. Let them think that. Let them believe we are sitting here feeling sorry for ourselves." "What do you propose, Admiral?" one of her colonels asked. "We use these 500 years wisely," Ji-Wan said. "We study them. Every species in the Council. Their strengths, their weaknesses, their fears. We learn everything about them while they forget we even exist." Her plan was simple but ambitious. Humanity would build the most advanced military force the galaxy had ever seen. They would develop weapons and tactics specifically designed to counter each alien species. Most importantly, they would do it all in absolute silence. Across the planet, similar conversations were happening in different fields. Dr. Suman Kang led a team of scientists working on quantum slipstream technology. The aliens could travel between stars quickly, but their method was old and predictable. Suman believed humanity could do better. "We need to think differently," she told her research team in the underground laboratory. The Council's technology evolved over thousands of years. They made improvements slowly, carefully. We do not have that luxury. We need to make massive leaps forward. Her team worked 16-hour days. Failures were common at first. 3 test ships vanished completely into quantum space. 7 more exploded during jump tests. But gradually they began to understand the mathematics behind reality itself. After 15 years, they achieved their first breakthrough. A human ship crossed the distance between Earth and Mars in 3 seconds. The old Council technology would have taken 3 minutes. It seemed like a small difference, but in warfare, those extra seconds could mean everything. Meanwhile, the political landscape of Earth was changing dramatically. The old system of competing nations was collapsing under the weight of a shared purpose. Empress Yunasong emerged from this chaos like a force of nature. She was not born royal. Yuna had been a military strategist before entering politics. She understood that humanity's greatest weakness was also what the Council had criticized most: their division. If Earth wanted to face the galaxy as equals, they needed to speak with one voice. Her rise to power was neither peaceful nor simple. It took 20 years of negotiation, compromise, and occasionally force. But eventually every nation on Earth bent the knee. The Earth Empire was born, and Yuna became its first empress. "We are no longer Americans, Chinese, Europeans, or Africans," she declared during her coronation. "We are humans. We are Earth. We are one people with one purpose: to make the galaxy regret the day they cast us out." The crowd roared their approval. Hundreds of millions watched across the planet. The message was clear. Humanity was united at last. But the most daring part of the plan remained secret. Admiral Taeyang Ryu commanded the Shadow Fleet, a project so classified that fewer than 1,000 people knew it existed. Using modified stealth technology, human ships could now move through space almost invisible to alien sensors. It was not perfect invisibility, but it was good enough. Good enough to slip past the quarantine stations. Good enough to explore the galaxy without being detected. Taeyang personally led the first mission beyond the barrier. His heart pounded as his ship approached the quarantine station. Every alarm in his body screamed that they would be detected and destroyed. But the alien sensors never registered their presence. They passed through like ghosts. "We are through," his navigator whispered, afraid to speak too loudly even in the vacuum of space. "Mark this day," Taeyang said. "Humanity is no longer caged." Over the next decades, the Shadow Fleet explored hundreds of star systems. They found planets perfect for colonization, rich in resources, far from alien patrols, and completely uninhabited. Slowly and carefully, humanity began to expand beyond the solar system. They built colonies in secret, massive shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, training facilities on remote moons. Each settlement was designed to be completely self-sufficient and invisible to alien detection. If anyone discovered one base, the others would survive. Dr. Suman Kang visited one of these hidden colonies in year 247 of the quarantine. She was an old woman now, but her mind remained sharp. She stood in the observation deck of the shipyard and watched as workers assembled the latest generation of warships. These vessels looked nothing like Earth's old designs. They incorporated stolen alien technology, human innovation, and 5 generations of focused military research. Each ship could defeat any Council warship in single combat, and humanity was building thousands of them. "Beautiful, are they not?" Admiral Jiwan Lee said, joining her at the window. Jiwan was ancient now, over 200 years old thanks to life extension treatments humanity had developed. "Terrifying," Suman replied. "Do you ever wonder if we have gone too far?" "Too far?" Jiwan shook her head. "We have not gone far enough. The Council humiliated us. They locked us away like animals. They deserve what is coming." "Revenge is a poison," Suman said softly. "Perhaps," Jiwan agreed, "but it is also fuel. It has driven us to achieve in 500 years what took the Council 10,000. When we reveal ourselves, they will understand the mistake they made." Back on Earth, Empress Unisong's great-great-great-granddaughter now sat on the throne. Empress Dehi Song was preparing for the moment everything would change. In just a few years, the 500-year quarantine would end. The Imperial Council debated their options endlessly. Some argued for a diplomatic approach, return to the Council peacefully and show them how humanity had matured. Others demanded immediate military action. Strike first and strike hard. Dahi listened to all arguments before making her decision. "We will do both," she declared. "We will offer them peace. We will show them our strength. And we will let them choose their own fate." In the hidden colonies, training intensified. Admiral Seojin Nam drilled his fleet commanders relentlessly. "The aliens think we are barbarians," he told them. "Let us show them what barbarians can do when they have 500 years to sharpen their blades." The soldiers practiced complex battle maneuvers, boarding actions, ship-to-ship combat, planetary invasion tactics. Every scenario was studied and refined. Humanity was preparing for a war they hoped to avoid, but expected to fight. Intelligence Director Hyejin An was perhaps the most valuable asset in humanity's arsenal. She had spent decades building a spy network that penetrated deep into Council territory. Human agents, disguised through genetic modification and advanced technology, had infiltrated dozens of alien worlds. They sent back detailed reports. Political tensions, military capabilities, economic weaknesses, social divisions. By the time the quarantine ended, humanity knew more about the Council than the Council knew about themselves. As year 500 approached, humanity held its collective breath. Ships were positioned. Troops were ready. Weapons were charged. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. On the last day of the quarantine, Empress Dahi stood before a gathering of every human leader. Military commanders, scientists, politicians, and representatives from all 47 hidden colonies attended either in person or through hologram. 500 years ago they judged us, Dahi said. They found us wanting. They called us barbarians and locked us away. Tomorrow the cage opens. Tomorrow we show them what humanity has become. Tomorrow we take our place in the galaxy, not as beggars seeking acceptance, but as an empire demanding respect. The assembled leaders stood and saluted as one. Outside, across 47 star systems, 10,000 warships prepared to emerge from the shadows. The age of silence was ending. The age of the Empire was about to begin. The Exile, the massive space station, hung in the darkness like a silver crown. Inside its grand chamber, representatives from 12 alien civilizations sat in a perfect circle. Their seats rose high above the center floor, where a single human stood alone. Do-Yoon Kim adjusted his formal uniform and tried to steady his breathing. He had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. Everything humanity had worked for led to this single day. Earth wanted to join the Galactic Council, and Do-Yoon carried the hopes of 8 billion people on his shoulders. "Honored members of the Council," Do-Yoon began, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. "I stand before you representing humanity. We come seeking friendship, knowledge, and our place among the stars." He activated the holographic display. Images of Earth appeared, rotating slowly. Beautiful blue oceans, green forests, and white clouds. Then came images of human cities, space stations, and the first colonies on Mars and Europa. "We have achieved space travel. We have cured diseases that once killed millions. We have created art, music, and literature that spans thousands of years. We have learned to work together despite our differences. The alien representatives watched in silence. Doyen could not read their expressions. Some had faces he could understand. Others looked like nothing from Earth's imagination. The Vrexian hierarch leaned forward. His species looked almost reptilian, with scaled skin that shimmered purple under the lights. Tell us, human, how many wars has your species fought? Doyen hesitated. Many, he admitted. But we have grown beyond our violent past. We have not had a major conflict in over 50 years. 50 years, another voice spoke. This came from a Tellurian, a being that looked like living crystal. We have had peace for 50,000 years. Your species is still children playing with weapons. We all had to start somewhere, Doyen argued. Every civilization here must have faced similar challenges. Perhaps, the Vrexian said. But when we reached the stars, we had already unified our worlds. You still have separate nations, separate governments, separate armies. You are not one people. You are many tribes pretending to be united. Doyen felt his face grow hot. We celebrate our diversity. It makes us stronger. It makes you weak, another council member said. This one resembled a floating jellyfish, its voice translated through speakers. Your planet still has poverty, hunger, crime. You cannot even take care of your own world, yet you wish to join us. We are working to solve those problems, Doyen said. That is why we seek membership. To learn from you. To grow with your guidance, the Vrexian hierarch stood. His full height reached nearly 3 meters. We have reviewed your history in detail. Your species has committed genocide. You have enslaved your own kind. You have destroyed ecosystems for profit. You have built weapons capable of destroying your entire planet. That was our past, Doyen pleaded. We have changed, have you? The Vrexian's eyes narrowed. Your warships orbit this very station. You brought military escorts to a peaceful gathering. Even now, you cannot resist showing your teeth. Those ships are for defense, Doyen protested. Standard protocol for any diplomatic mission. It reveals your nature, the crystal being said. Violence is your first language. Cooperation is merely your second. The chamber filled with murmurs. Doyen looked around desperately. He could feel the moment slipping away. Please, he said, give us a chance. We can prove ourselves worthy. The Vrexian hierarch raised one clawed hand. The chamber fell silent. Humanity is not ready to join civilized society. Your species is too dangerous, too primitive, too divided. You are barbarians who have learned to build starships. Nothing more. The words hit Doyen like physical blows. Barbarians, primitive, dangerous. The council will now vote, the Vrexian announced. All in favor of accepting humanity's application for membership. Not a single hand raised. Not one voice spoke in support. All in favor of rejecting the application. 12 hands rose. 12 voices said yes. It was unanimous. Doyen stood frozen. This could not be happening. They had prepared for years. They had done everything right. Furthermore, the Vrexian continued, the council hereby imposes a quarantine on the human species. You are forbidden from leaving your solar system for the next 500 years. We will establish enforcement stations at your system's edge. Any attempt to breach this barrier will result in the immediate destruction of your vessels. 500 years. Doyen's voice cracked. That is 20 generations. You cannot do this. We can and we have, the crystal being said. Perhaps in 5 centuries your species will have matured enough to join galactic society. Until then, you will remain in your cradle. Isolated, quarantined, forgotten. This is not justice, Doyen said, his hands shaking with anger. This is cruelty. This is mercy, the Vrexian said coldly. Be grateful we do not simply eliminate the threat you represent. Now leave. This audience is concluded. The chamber's lights dimmed. Guards appeared at the edges of the room, making it clear Doyen's presence was no longer welcome. He walked out slowly, his mind spinning. Everything had gone wrong. Humanity had been judged and found wanting. Worse, they had been imprisoned in their own home system like criminals. Outside the chamber, Captain Heyoon Park waited with the security detail. She saw Doyen's face and immediately understood. Sir? She asked quietly. Get everyone back to the ships, Doyen said. We are leaving. Now. As they walked through the station's corridors, Doyen noticed how the other species looked at them. Some showed pity. Most showed contempt. A few looked pleased, as if humanity getting rejected was exactly what they wanted. Aboard Earth's flagship, Do-yoon stood on the bridge and watched as the station grew smaller. Around them, alien warships had already begun moving into position. They were being escorted out like unwanted guests. Young Minho Choi, a scientist assigned to the delegation, stood beside him. "What do we tell everyone back home?" he asked. Do-yoon stared at the stars. "We tell them the truth. The galaxy thinks we are not good enough. They think we are too violent, too primitive, too human." "Are they right?" Minho asked. "I do not know," Do-yoon admitted. "But I know this. 500 years is a long time, long enough to prove them wrong. Long enough to become something they cannot ignore. Long enough to make them regret this day." Hyun turned from her console. "Sir, we are picking up construction signatures. They are already building the quarantine stations." "Let them build their cage," Do-yoon said quietly. "They think they know humanity. They think they have seen our worst, but they have made a terrible mistake today." "What mistake?" Minho asked. Do-yoon's expression hardened. "They humiliated us. They rejected us. They called us barbarians. Now they have given us 500 years with nothing to do but think about that insult. 500 years to remember this feeling. 500 years to prepare." The ship entered slipstream, leaving the council territory behind. None of them knew it then, but this day would be remembered forever. The day humanity was exiled. The day everything changed. Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. The Great Rejection, they called it. People reacted with shock, anger, and hurt. But beneath it all, something else began to grow. Something dangerous and determined. If the galaxy would not accept them as friends, then humanity would return as something else entirely. The 500-year clock had begun.